know very little about their family history in the 19th century, when their ancestors weren't considered equal to white Americans. To trace an African-American family back into slavery is often impossible. But for my three guests, I was determined to try.
Man, I don't know anything about myself. I want to find out, like, who I am, where I come from.
Nas's music may be synonymous with life in New York's tough inner city, but his family's roots are deeply Southern, beginning with his mother. Now tell me about this beautiful lady.
That's my mom.
Yeah.
I never saw this picture.
That is Fannie Ann Little, born in Steeles Township in Richmond County, North Carolina, in 1941. Was that a big part of who she was?
The country, the southernness, it was there. And her cooking and, how she grew up, where she grew up, she'd tell us about it.
Your parents separated.
Yeah.
That was when you were 12.
Right. And, Mom was there holding things down, and she was such an amazing woman. Just love, a lot of love.
Nas's mother died in 2002 after a long battle with cancer. For as long as Nas can remember, his mother was determined that he and his brother forge deep ties with her ancestral home down in North Carolina. She made a ritual each summer of shipping her boys south, taking them out of the projects to spend time with her grandparents, Mac and Nanny Little. What do you remember about your grandparents? Tell me, were you close to them?
Very close to them.
You'd be staying at their house in Carolina, right?
Yep.
What was that like? Was that culture shock, or did you look forward to it?
Culture shock in its highest form. You know what I'm saying? 2 weeks at Grandma's house, and it felt like a year.
What was so bad about it?
Man, it just felt like we were in a time machine and wound up back on the plantations.
But what Nas didn't know is that this small township in North Carolina was home to an entire branch of his family tree, going back 5 generations. When our researchers began to look at the records, we discovered something rather unusual. His mother's family tree is filled with men and women who married each other and who shared the same last name, Little. Now, this is a page from the United States Federal Census from 1940.
Oh, cool. Mac Little's my grandfather, and Nanny is my grandmother.
Yep, those are your mother's parents. Mac Little, Nanny Little. Little was her maiden name as well as her married name. Did you ever think about that?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. Now, Nas, this is your grandfather's death certificate. Can you see what it says here for his parents?
Walter Little, and mother's maiden name is Fannie Little.
So, Nas, this is the second generation of Littles marrying people called Little. This turned out to be a distinct pattern in Nas's family. A staggering 5 generations of male and female Littles married spouses also named Little, and almost all of them came from the same town. Beginning all the way back in 1824 with the birth of his 3rd great-grandfather, Calvin Little, who later married a woman named Pocahontas Little. So what do you make of that?
It's a popular name at the time.
Yeah, like everybody's named Little.
Yeah, and whoever was the first Little got around.
Of the many documents we used to map this magnificently detailed family tree so deeply into slavery, one contained a detail that we found particularly intriguing. It was a page from the 1910 federal census, listing Nas's great-grandmother, Fannie, living right next door to a woman also named Fannie, Fannie Little.
Color? That's white.
White, that's right. Their next-door neighbor is another Fannie Little, but she's a 78-year-old white woman.
Right.
Now, what do you think? Could this white woman, same name, be related to you? What do you think?
Yeah.
This peculiar coincidence wasn't all that struck us as odd. As we dug more deeply into her background, we found that the white Fannie Little was more than just a neighbor. She had a father-in-law named Thomas Little, who had been a prosperous plantation owner and slave master. We discovered a will that Thomas Little had written in 1857, which confirmed that he had owned many generations of Naz's family, including Calvin Little.
Settlement of Thomas Little Estate, 1857.
Those are your ancestors being left in a will, like property, to a white man.
Wow. Frank, Mac, Fannie, and Calvin. This is amazing.
That's Calvin, who is your third great-grandfather.
Yes. Man. That's heavy.
When Thomas Little died, Naz's third great-grandfather Calvin was willed to Thomas's son, Benjamin Franklin Little. And his records afforded us a rare glimpse into the daily life of his slaves. Well, Nas, Benjamin Franklin Little was a fantastic record keeper. I've never seen anything like what we're about to show you.
Ledger of cotton picked per slave, October 1854.
Your third great-grandfather, Calvin, was about 30 years old in October 1854. These are the pounds of cotton that he was picking every day. Read straight across.
150. The next line looks like 200. 78. He must have been tired this day. 49. The next day he's picking up 54. 2 days is blank. He probably told them to go screw themselves. Wow, so this is day after day.
Day after day. What's it feel like to experience this?
I mean, it's anger. It's anger. Amazement. This wasn't that long ago.
No. You're talking about 150 years. And so many of our slave ancestors are just anonymous. And yours are leaping out of these records with their names on them, which is extraordinarily rare.
It's insane.
One of the greatest ironies of black genealogy is that to learn the identities of our slave ancestors, we have to turn to the records left behind by their masters, the very people who denied them